Cutter's stamp on the offense since he took over and kind of turned it around?
Well, yeah. I mean, you look, golly, I mean, the quarterback is – no two players are ever exactly the same, but truly the resemblances to Vince Young. Yeah, you got a guy that's 6'5 plus, it's 215 pounds. It's a, incredible talent. And ever since he's gone in there, they've been a completely different team. And I think every one of their conference games they've won by 3 touchdowns. I was thinking, if they're just different than everybody else in this league, and it's a little bit like in the old Big 7 or Big 8, the Crimson team. What'd they win when Bud Wilkins won they had to go 78 games until they ever lost a game. I mean, they could go on one of those runs within this league just because they're if they were in a Power 5, they'd more than hold their own, and they deserve to be in a Power 5 league when you look at just the amount that's invested. But I think certainly at quarterback, he's something else. And to have 2 great, not good, but great running backs, Giante and Halani. And then defensively, I don't want to overstep, but they're out of this world. They really are. You look defensively, I think they're number 2 in the country in total defense. They only give up 4.1 a play. Third down, I think they give up it's 28%. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It really is. When you look in, and yet it's not a surprise again, just because they operate at a different level.
How close do you think George Halani is to looking like he did when he was a freshman? I mean, he's
better.
Better.
Quicker, stronger, more balance, the production. And it helps too. I mean, truly, when you go through the roster, it's not a case when you go through the depth chart. There are more than a couple of RSs on there. So, yeah. I mean, so when you're RS with a junior after it, that doesn't mean you're still 20. You're I don't want to make anything about carrying your real ID, but I mean, they're playing with different people than pretty much anybody that they face. And, and again, you go back to the Big 8 when the Crimson team was – their biggest rival was out of the league, across their border, the Red River. And this squad, you can see why their biggest rival, probably more than likely, is the one of Provo.
Defensively, their front 7, this is the best front 7 you've seen?
Yes. That didn't take long to think, did it?
How so? What are they doing?
Again, this isn't the first year or the second year or the third year these guys have been there. They're extremely stout. They know exactly which gap they're supposed to be. They play with different guys. They do.
When you went back to look at how Jonathan Youngblood played, stepping into that role, what's been your assessment since the game?
Really very active. The instinct to be able to cause a fumble when he did, that takes some time to recognize that situation. And I commend really just the organization of our defensive staff to put guys in those spots in practice to realize that if this comes up once in the next 200 snaps, maybe you have an opportunity here to pry. That's something that's been practiced a good bit, but he's the one that executed it.
Rod Roberts jumped to the top 10 rushing list for the Falcons. What does the O-line need to continue to do this week to continue to open up those holes for him?
Yeah, they have to play differently than what we did the other night. I mean, we're just, my goodness, I mean, you're all of a sudden, if you line up against Oklahoma and they got, if they have a linebacker, if they have Bosworth, or they have the Selman brothers up front or Ricky Dixon. I mean, it's a different. It'll be very, very hard to do.
Boise State is great at sustaining long drives. What's the most important thing to keep the defense that they have to do to keep the defense off the field?
I'll say this. I think they have great balance. They throw it quite well. As we mentioned earlier, how good the tailbacks are and how long those offensive linemen have been in their program. And that makes a huge difference. Just talent-wise, they're beyond outstanding.
You look at your last win against UNLV, y'all obviously came out with the big result that you wanted. Is there a certain way that, the team tries to maintain that excitement after the win, or, like you said at the beginning of the season, you just take it game by game, or do you try and maintain that excitement?
You can't. That's unrealistic, and I think I don't want to say there's no such thing as consistency, because there can be in terms of your approach and your work ethic. But what actually happens with an at-bat is different from plate appearance to plate appearance. And, really, there is no such thing as the same from one time to the next. I mean, I think if in 1927, if Babe Ruth hit 60 home runs, well, he played in 154 games, so there were a bunch of games where he did not hit a home run. In a lot of ways, football's that way too. Just the matchups are so unique, week in, week out.
Coach, Saturday, at the end of the third quarter, when the official went up to tell the UNLV band to knock it off, all you guys had, was that something you had alerted the refs, or was that something they did on their own?
Well, they do that. That's something that's solely between an official and the game management people.
Draw any parallels between what Boise State has going on now and your season in 2016 when you made the midseason switch and brought in a different?
I don't. It's an interesting point. I just again they have so many NFL guys. I mean, it just I might liken it more to 1985 where you got a great talent and a guy named Aikman. But in comes Holloway, and that team went and won a bunch of games. I mean, it's just, and the previous quarterback, he'll end up somewhere and being a tremendous player. I mean, they're just, again, it just goes back to, you look at their 2 deep and their 3 deep and, how they're able to recruit and their investment. I mean, you don't flinch, and I really don't. I mean, if they went on one of those runs where they had 8 straight years of winning the Mountain West Conference, you just say, yeah, that's fathomable.
But all those factors remain the same at their start versus now, and something has changed within the way they're playing. So what do you think is?
Probably just a little bit of time. But, I mean, defensively, they're extra. I mean, you just look defense. I mean, they are through the roof. And offensively, I do think having both backs has been helpful too. But clearly, just the explosiveness that this quarterback brings to their offense. Just he's, to be 6'5" and to be that electric. And I don't know why, but I remember we were playing Vince Young when he was a rookie with the Titans, and he was from Houston, and the Texans didn't draft him, and all of a sudden in overtime it's like 20-20, and he drops back and he goes about 38, 39 yards in overtime, and you just thought that's the recollection. The similarities, like I said, they're never ever 2 guys are the same, but it's just that talent, that skill set.
Do you think the preparation you guys always have for service academy quarterbacks, is there some carryover in what he brings as a runner?
It's just the formations are so much different. I say that from the standpoint the number of times that they have 2 or 3 receivers on the field, or 3 receivers on the field. The other part is the utilization of a running back alongside of him is different than what it would be if there was primarily a bigger fullback, if you will, beside him.
And when you look at Jonathan Youngblood, kind of his experience here has been unique, because he did play immediately as a freshman in the COVID year, and then he stepped back, and was part of the depth. What do you think he gained from that, being able to see what game action is like, then applying all that on the practice field, and now getting back into regular action?
I think, so much of what you do, and I try to convey this, I don't know if I always do, is just the work that you put in the off season. If there's a certain lift that you're doing, God, the lift's more purposeful. When you know that, what, I need to put a little more weight on the bar, I'm in this situation, or I'm clean, and it may not be isometrically exact, but you just remember that one rep maybe where you weren't able to complete a tackle, where now all right, next time I get in that situation, I will. I think you tend to approach the off season with even more focus and intensity.
And you may not agree with this premise, but would you say this year, when the fullback dive or trap hasn't been working as effectively, the other options have been harder to get to than in past years for your offense?
No, because I think in past years, that's probably accurate too.
Well, then, okay. Then if you don't agree, maybe you don't. Do you feel like that needs to be an emphasis? And that, especially, facing a rush defense like Boise State, obviously, you're probably going to face some congestion in the middle. Do you feel like you have things where you need them at the other spots?
That's why we get to play it. They do not give up yards at all. It's I'm trying to think, like the top 4 or 5 defenses in the country are Georgia, Boise State, who is it? Illinois, maybe Michigan and Ohio State. And that I could miss on that, but they're big. They're so talented. This is anybody they're going to play against. They're going to be very dominant just because they overwhelm you on talent and size, and they're prepared well.
Kind of piggybacking on
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
I know you guys have been really dominant on the ground, and obviously that's what Boise State is good at stopping. A balanced attack is the goal every week, but is it more so this week?
I don't know, until really we get into the game. We do try to work all facets because I do think you have to. We'd like to be fairly efficient. We want to be efficient when we throw. Can't tell you exactly where we are in that regard, but we want to be really, really good when we throw, and we'd like to be good when we run it. And we certainly put the investment in terms of time and organization and how we allocate practices accordingly too, and try to break it down into the smaller components of throwing some one-on-one routes, of going into a little bit larger unit work where we're being able to read coverages a certain way and everybody's on the same page, of taking a unit on the side and being able to work through all of our protections. We put an immense amount of time in our passing game just because we do want to be efficient. But I think you have to prepare that way each game, not only for one particular outing.
You came from the bowl school, right?
Yes, sir.
What was it like to come out of a program like that to produce so many people? Like when you got to the college level, did you feel instantly prepared? Was there less of an adjustment period?
I would say the bowl school really prepared me for coming to college, academic-wise and athletic-wise. It taught me at an early age how to balance both and excel in both, and I think it really helped me out when I came up here.
Who were some of the quarterbacks you played with in high school?
Mac Jones, yep, he was my quarterback, graduated the same year as me.
Are you still friends?
Yes, sir. I talked to him a while. I went to his draft party when he got drafted last year. That was fun in Alabama.
That was like at his house or something, or where was it?
It was at his apartment on the top floor, and we just hung out and caught up on good times, old times.
What is it like? Most people don't come out of a program like that has so many people. What is it like? Do you feel like more pressure to perform, or is it because you have so many peers, is it easier to get to the college level and perform?
I don't think it's harder. I just think because you've been around so much talent, you just want to work hard, and you know what it takes to get to the next level. And that was the biggest thing for me. Is just they just taught me how to you got to keep working, and if you want to be good at the things that you do.
And Jordan Jackson went there too, right?
Yes, sir.
You still in touch with him?
Yes, sir. This summer we worked out. The whole time I was home, we was working out every day together, and yeah, he's one of my close friends.
And have you helped at all with recruits, as they visited from that school too?
Oh yes, sir. A lot. So we have a little pipeline going on here now. I know that there's 2 freshmen here that's from Bowles, and they always are asking, and I'm always giving them yeah.
And now looking at this week with Boise, this year the offense is when the fullback's going, everything else seems to go too. But when that has struggled, some of the other weapons haven't been as effective. How do you combat that now that you're facing a team that is going to try to stop the run and could be effective at it? How do you guys diversify without that success up the middle?
I would say we practice it a lot every week, and it's literally if the run game's not going, we might have to open it up, and we'll be prepared because we practice it so much and practice every day. And I just think that everyone's going to be ready when their opportunity comes.
And historically, you guys have had as much success against Boise as anybody in the conference. What kind of confidence does that give you, knowing you guys have had, not only last year, but before you got here, there was a run of 3 or 4 in a row. What does that do for the mindset?
I think every week we go in, we talk as a team, and we have to go in with confidence. That's where the winning starts, when you first go in with confidence and you don't think hey, I'm gonna do my job and we're gonna win.
And at the Z receiver spot, what kind of competition is there now that people are getting healthier? And some of you have been playing while they've been gone, and now you've got everybody except Dane Kinnaman, as far as I know, back and available.
I wouldn't say it's competition because we're all close friends in that group, and we just all work so hard. And if one man goes down, next man comes up, and we can do the jobs just as good. And that's one thing that's special about our Z room that I believe.
And what kind of urgency do you feel in terms of just the conference and other things you can still accomplish, with this week and then moving forward?
Yeah, so everything that we want is still on the table. CIC, the conference, we just have to do our job week in and week out, and we just hope at the end that everything just falls off in our favor.
How you doing, Mari?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. When you think of Boise State, just what do you think of what comes to your mind when it comes to that program?
I just think of blue turf. Yeah, I know that our rivals, and we know them well, and they know us well. We just know that we have to put in our best foot every day to prepare for that game.
So you're well aware of where you sit in the standings, correct?
Yes, sir.
So is there any pressure this week, because if you want to attain one of your goals of winning the conference, more than likely you have to win on Saturday. Is there any pressure in that?
I wouldn't say it's pressure. We know that where we want to be at the end of the year, we have to get our jobs done this week, and we always go in it looking at 1 week at a time. We can't look ahead or behind, so we want to get this week done and win.
And then with them being so stout against the run, perhaps more opportunity for you this week?
Maybe. Well, we like the challenge, though. We're excited to go against. They said it's a good defense. We're excited to go against it and see what we have.
Yeah. And then my last question is, if I forgot what I was going to ask you. I guess. Yeah.
I asked Coach the same question, but I just wanted to get your perspective as a player. After y'all's big win at UNLV, is there a certain way that you, whether individually or as a team, y'all like to maintain that excitement after a big win heading into your next game? Or like you just said, y'all like taking it week by week? What does that kind of look like?
So there's a few things that we take away from last week that we excelled in, and we just have to bring it in this week. We got to go back to who we are, and that's running the ball and just getting those hard yards. And we just have to just go each day and practice and just know that we can do it.
Actually, you know what I was going to ask you about?
Yeah.
Saturday, when the ref goes into the stands, did you have any idea what he was doing?
Oh, I didn't even notice it until I got back on my phone and I was like, what's going on? So I had no idea that was happening during the game.
I mean, with the band playing, does that affect you guys after you get out of the huddle, or?
Honestly, I don't think we even noticed it
Yeah.
during it because we're so locked into the game.
Cool. Thanks, man. Good luck.
Thank you.
When you look at this offense, especially with a mobile quarterback, what are you seeing, and what is it like to start preparing for that?
Well, we have to prepare to tackle. We have to, because we know it's an athletic quarterback, as you said. We know Boise's a good team, well disciplined, well coached. So we're just gonna have to lock in this week and prepare.
Are there a lot of similarities to preparing for UNLV because they use the quarterback in that way, or is it like a service academy because you always see running quarterbacks?
It's more the same because we prepared for a running quarterback last week, so very somewhat similar to both because we always prepare for draws, fakes, and screens and all that.
Do you feel like you're well equipped to stop that because you do see that a lot?
Yes, we prepare a lot, so yeah, pretty
and have you
much.
seen much film yet? I know it's early in the week, but coach was comparing their quarterback to Vince Young. It's probably a little before your time, but
Yeah.
big Texas quarterback. Like, what do you see in his physical attributes?
Well, I know he's fast. He's agile. He can jump. As coach told us, he was some good long jumper, dribble jumper. So the comparisons to Vince Young is pretty spot on.
And what do you, when you think of Boise State, like what comes to your mind, and where do you see them kind of in the conference, year after year?
Well, year after year, they're very consistent. They're always one of those top dogs in the conference, and we know they're well coached, well disciplined. They have veterans on their team, so we know they're experienced and all that.
And is there a picture that comes to your mind when you hear Boise State?
A picture, I guess, a challenge, but we love challenges, so.
And is there a lot of confidence that comes from having success against them in the past, last year, but also for the program before that too?
Yes, there's confidence in our last year, and confidence comes from our preparation and practice, mostly.
And we kind of touched on this after the game, but you have such a unique experience here because you played as a freshman, and then you stepped back last year and were in a reserve role. Like, what were you able to learn more on the practice field last year and early this year because you've experienced game action so early in your career?
Yes, yeah, because I'm getting a lot of reps as a freshman, and last year I started a couple games, so that had a lot to do with me preparing and be ready to play at
Is there
any
something
moment.
to be said for knowing exactly what to experience or to expect? It's not like a hypothetical, like someday when I get on the field, it's going to be like this. You know what that's like? Like, does that help as you apply things on the practice field or in the weight room or anything else?
It does help, I guess, because all that experience. Can you ask it again?
I just basically, since a lot of freshmen, sophomores are on the practice field, they haven't really seen game action yet. So they're practicing, but they don't know how that's going to apply to a game. But you did
Okay.
because you had that experience. Like,
Yeah,
so does that change that experience?
I guess it does because all the nerves are out of the way from the first game, building up all the butterflies in your stomach. So I guess it does help.
And you're from the Atlanta area, right?
Yes, sir.
And you went to a private school. What kind of competition did you? Well, who were your teammates, or who'd you play against? Like, are there some big time players that you came up with?
I played against because we played out of our conference mostly because I went to a smaller school in Georgia. So I played against a good offensive lineman. He went to Georgia. It was like Caden Mays and Tate Martell and people like that. All right.
You were at a smaller school.
Yeah.
Was it a big adjustment to come to the college level?
Not really. I was well coached in high school, so I think my high school coach prepared me well for college.
And who was the recruiting coach from Air Force who first contacted you?
I think he left. I think his name was Coach Nick Jones. He recruited me, and Ben Miller. He was also left. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
How you doing, Jonathan?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Hey, did you play in the bowl game last year?
Somewhat
bit?
special teams, yeah.
Okay, so you didn't face Cunningham on the field. I was just curious if you thought the Boise State quarterback had some similarities to Cunningham at Louisville.
I guess he does. I don't think he's as fast, but very athletic, has a good arm, so very similar, yeah.
One of the goals, obviously, every year is to win the Mountain West.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any pressure this week? And I mean, it seems like you have to win this week in order to attain that goal. Is there any pressure in that?
I mean, there's some pressure, but we like pressure. We like adversity, so I think that falls into it, yeah.
What do you think is the biggest key to stopping the Broncos on Saturday?
Well, first we have to stop the run, and with that, stopping the passing game that follows with it. So first stop the run, mostly, because they got two good running backs.
Boise loves to sustain long drives. What will be the key to getting you guys off the field quickly?
Just like last week, turnovers, stopping the run, mostly, yeah.
Now that you're an upperclassman, you've faced Boise before. Is there something you're looking to do this year that you weren't looking for past years? Something that you wish you did against them?
I guess starting off fast, starting off physical fast, stopping the run right off the bat, not have to get in those long drives, like you said.